Hey guys, it's Siobhan with The Kitty and Beyond. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing monthly horoscope readings, and this is for Gemini in January 2020. So that can apply to Gemini sun, moon, or rising. I also recommend that you check out your sun, moon, and rising videos. All three of them will have messages for you, and some may resonate more strongly than others. So watching them all will give you an overall understanding of the energy that's affecting you in the month of January. So let's go ahead and jump into the monthly spread. I'm using a new deck of cards that I just got. It's a tarot with mythological creatures. Okay, Gemini. What's going on? Okay, so Gemini current self energy. You have the Seven of Pentacles. The theme of the month, you have the King of Swords. The key goal for January. Ooh, that really flung out there. Eight of Swords, Pegasus. The obstacle to overcome. You have the Seven of Swords in reverse. The major accomplishment. You have the Hermit. What to avoid. Eight of Pentacles. Okay, moving forward. What to embrace. You have the Page of Pentacles. Where to find support. You have the Page of Swords. And advice and encouragement. The World. Okay. Wow. So, you have a fair amount of sort of like a new journey type of energy. Okay, let's just jump into it. So the current self here is coming up as the Seven of Pentacles. So this is an energy of patience while you manifest things. There's things going on in the background that you're not maybe aware of. So the cogs, the wheels are turning, and gremlins, the little gremlins are doing their work on behalf of the functioning of this machine. So there's lots of different aspects to be aware of, some of which you may not be aware of. And so being patient with the process will help in the manifestation of it. So knowing that you're being assisted, that you're being helped, that the work that you've put in and the work that you continue to put in will pay off in a physical way. So because these are pentacles, this could be finances that you're working on or projects that you're working on that haven't quite come to completion yet, or you haven't been able to reap the harvest from what you've been growing, but eventually you will be. And it's really just about maintaining the level of action and movement that you've been thus far, but while remaining patient if it's not 100% yet. So the theme of the month is the King of Swords. So this is a Viking king, so I like that. You know, it's very related to that sign of air. I don't know why I always kind of associate Vikings with air. I feel like, you know, because they lived up in the mountains and they really connected to Valhalla. So the theme of the month is going to be about transcendence and communication when it comes to clear thinking and action. I see this as taking action in a new direction when it comes to something physical that you've been working on, or a way of thinking about something that has been limiting you. So maybe impatience has been like a limiting factor that you've been struggling with, and so the King of Swords is coming in to allow you the patience and the perspective to be able to move forward and free yourself, because that's what's here with the Eight of Swords. The key goal this month is going to be transcending limitations that have been created by the self. So it's really the ego and the fear that the ego holds. It can influence us in many different ways. So when we fear that something's not going to work out, we get impatient, or we stop contributing to it, or when we have fear of a new journey into the unknown, we may procrastinate and hold ourselves from taking action towards doing it, even if it will bring us joy and happiness, or growth and wisdom. So the Eight of Swords, I love that they've shown her as a Pegasus here, which is the very positive aspects of the Eight of Swords, where it's usually depicted as somebody who is blindfolded and bound in a circle of swords, and they look really, defeated and disempowered. So this is about taking back your power. That's really the goal here this month. And when it comes to your mind, it's getting really clear on why things are the way they are, and how they got that way, so that you can stop sort of self-sabotaging and finding out where you're self-sabotaging, and then doing something about it. So the obstacle to overcome, you have the Seven of Swords in reverse, as this is a cannibal. So it's a giant wreaking havoc among a flock of sheep, and he's going to eat the shepherd. But I see the Seven of Swords is really just about deception, and quite possibly stealing, right? So it's something that's not yours, and you're not supposed to do it, and you're stealing, or you're deceiving yourself in some way. So rationalization can be part of that as well. When it comes to the ego, it has gotten very good at rationalizing things that, even if we know deep down, or we feel in our gut that it's not right, the mind will have a tendency to rationalize it, to allow us to go through with it anyway. And then we end up getting sort of negative results out of that, and we wonder why. And it's because it wasn't meant for us, or it wasn't in alignment with us in the first place. So this is the obstacle. It may feel really difficult for you to overcome some of this self-deception. You may be very rooted in this mechanical way of thinking, but it's going to, and this month in January, it's going to require you to think outside the box, to tap back into the realms that are all connected. So I'm really seeing these two sort of ways of thinking, and there's this duality within one of them, and there's this unity within the other. So there's this aspect that's very logical, very linear, very mechanical, and then there's this other perspective that's very imaginative and creative and very connective, very open to the unknown. Even if it doesn't fit into a particular box, it will help you to intuit what is right for you, or to gain information that you need to be able to move forward and free yourself from some of this self-sabotage and limitation. So the major accomplishment is the Hermit. So that's what's really going to help you to do what you need to do in the month of January. You may need to sort of seclude yourself a little bit to get away from some of the external input that may be influencing you, right? So if you're feeling really pressured into doing something a certain way, or if that's what you've been programmed to believe, and that's what you're seeing around you and the people that you're close with, then it really is about kind of stepping back from that. And it's funny that I mentioned the mountains with the Vikings, and then the Hermit is the Yeti, and he's up on the mountain. I really see this as you, whether or not you live close to mountains and you have access to going on a mountain hike, I really see this as just kind of stepping away from general society and getting that higher perspective, as the mountain does represent enlightenment. Now, it is something that's difficult for us to climb, to ascend, but once we get to that topmost point, we are given this perspective, or we gain this perspective that is really crucial and necessary for us to be able to come back down with that wisdom. So the Hermit here is giving you space and time to gain this perspective as it relates to yourself, and how you're going to move forward now that you have gained some of this new understanding. And you may not have gained it yet, but you will, because over the course of January and moving forward into this new decade, it's really going to be about bringing stability. And first, there needs to be closure. So there needs to be progression, movement forward, and that can mean that there needs to be closure in things that are no longer working for you, or finality and conclusion of things that you started. Okay, so that was the major accomplishment. What to avoid in January, you have the 8 of Pentacles, which is zombie. So I see this as avoiding sort of like, again, this mechanical type of progress. There, with the Gremlins card, the 7 of Pentacles and the 8 of Pentacles being zombie, I really see this as kind of just like sticking with the status quo and doing what everybody else is doing, kind of acting like a zombie, like not really thinking about what you're doing or your motivations. And that's kind of really gotten you to this point where you're not satisfied anymore. And that's why, you know, your soul is really needing to go within, and your mind is really needing to be quieted so that you can understand why you've gotten to this point and why it's not satisfying, and then what to do about it. So the 8 of Pentacles, it gives you this perspective to be able to kind of take your head up, out for a minute, because you may have had your head down for too long, been working away, but then losing kind of why you were working at it in the first place, or what the motivation was behind it. So whether or not this is something that you want to continue working on is going to be, you know, up to you. Every situation is going to be different for everybody. So, you know, take what resonates with you or what's coming to your mind at this time. Whatever situation that is coming up into your head or that you're visualizing is what this will apply to. So this 8 of Pentacles, it's really just about being aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and maybe to, you know, get that head up again, that higher perspective really needs to come. Okay, so the what to embrace, you have Page of Pentacles, and I believe that Taurus had this exact card in this exact position. So if you have Taurus in your chart, then this is another significant message for you. So the Page of Pentacles, Baron Samedi, I'm assuming that he's like a voodoo guy, or hoodoo. I'm not really sure the difference, but you can see by the imagery that he's into magic, manifestation, alchemy, probably of some kind. That's all, it boils down to intention and what you're doing with it. So this Page of Pentacles is sort of in line with these other pentacle cards that you have. You've been working away on something, you've been trying to manifest something, but perhaps the motivation wasn't in alignment with you. Perhaps it was because you felt that you had to, or because there was a pressure from outside of you that really required you to do it. Like you were raised to think that you had to work in a certain field, or that you had to do a certain thing consistently to achieve success. And it may not have provided you with what you thought that it would. And that's probably because it wasn't in alignment with you, or it isn't in alignment with you. So whether or not it's bearing fruit does not hinge on whether it's in alignment with you or not. But if it doesn't feel right, and you'll know this at an intuitive level, not at a mental level, because the mental level will have you keep pushing forward even if it doesn't feel right. Again, that's that rationalization that the ego is very, very good at. So this really boils down to finding, again, these inner motivations, which you can do through a little bit of separation, by pulling back, by secluding, isolating a little bit from some of these outside influences or external situations that are creating some level of belief that you can't break free from that cycle, or that you're disempowered in some way and you have to just keep doing it because it's what's expected of you, or because it's what gives you, you know, the money that you need to survive, or whatever it is. But again, it's like magic for the sake of magic is one thing, but you know, it really boils down to where the magic is coming from. Whether it's from a fear or a dark place of lack, or if it's coming from an enlightened place of abundance and love. So again, that's something to think about. The Page of Swords is where to find support. So I also see, okay, I also want to mention something, a message that just came through. This may not be for everybody, but I do see this as somebody possibly going back to school or studying. And this may not be in the traditional sense. This may be somebody who's studying very esoteric information, like spiritual information, or learning a spiritual trade of some kind. You may be investing in that new course of action. So I just wanted to mention that to you. So where to find support, you have the Page of Swords, which is the Headless Horseman. I love this because this is really about, again, you've got her holding the head here. I really see this as you cutting off that ego, right? So it's like, instead of thinking from the head, think from the heart. Instead of just being on autopilot and being mechanical about it, really get down to that intuition, that inner feeling, and the soul of the matter. You know, instead of being a soulless zombie, really get down to the soul of the matter of why you're doing what you're doing and whether or not it's bringing you satisfaction, and then move forward really quickly from there, or you will move forward really quickly from there, because the Page of Swords is very fast moving mental energy. So once this information comes to you intuitively, you'll be able to interpret it at a mental level that is no longer disempowering, and therefore you'll be able to free yourself from that cycle. And that's what I see here with the Ouroboros, the World card, the advice and encouragement. So this is a cycle that is coming full circle. This is a karmic lesson that your soul has chosen to partake in, that has chosen to understand. So any limitations that were there before were for a reason, because it helped you to gain this new perspective going forward, which you will gain in January or moving forward into the new year, right? So time's not linear as we perceive it, although the ego mind seeks to make it that way. It's not. It's very cyclical like this, and everything is connected. So it really is about breaking free from those karmic cycles and transcending the mental limitations that kept you stuck in them, so that you can really reconnect with who you are at soul level and what your soul came here to do. So when you do things in the physical world, when you take actions that are in alignment with your soul, first of all, it just feels better. Second of all, it's more fulfilling. And third of all, it reaps more abundance, and it will provide more abundance in many different areas of life, because it is in alignment with what your soul really wants, not just with what your mind wants. Okay, so let's get the Archangel Oracle card for the reading for Gemini. Oh. Counselor. Okay. Yeah. So Archangel Azrael, you are a natural counselor, and many people benefit from your guidance and reassurance. So this actually may be about you learning how to be a spiritual counselor or a counselor of some kind. And if it's not that, then I really see this as you sort of either seeking guidance from outside of you, from somebody who you trust and somebody who can provide a new perspective for you. Or this is you sort of pulling back in that hermit energy and being able to receive counsel from your higher self. As you can see in the card there, there's this version of her, and then there's the higher self version of her, and they're connecting, so there's information coming through. This could also be about getting counseling as well. So if you're feeling really, really disempowered and you can't seem to break free from these old sort of ingrained beliefs or programs, and you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, then it might be time to reach out to somebody who can help you, whether this is a registered psychologist or counselor, or for spiritual counseling, which is what I do in the form of Reiki sessions. This is counseling that's directly guided by your higher self, and it involves healing as well. So it's a combination of spiritual counseling and energetic healing. All right, guys, so that's your reading for January 2020. If you guys would like to get more in detail into what's going on in your specific situation, or if you are in need of some counseling, spiritual counseling and energetic healing, then please reach out to me. All of the information will be in the description box below this video. You can just hit the little inverted triangle or the show more button to get a drop-down list of all of my services and offerings, as well as how to contact me and book a reading or a session. So thank you guys for being here, for supporting the channel. channel. If you resonated with this reading, then please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more. I put out monthly horoscope readings for all the signs, as well as energy updates for the collective ascension of humanity and general spiritual chit chats and Q&As. I love you, and we'll see you next month. Bye, guys.